The Way of the Heart. Lesson 2. Now we begin. And indeed, greeting unto you, beloved and holy friends. Again, it is with great joy that I come forth to abide with you in this hour. Indeed, it is with great joy that we come forth to abide with you in this hour, for in truth, I come not alone to join in communion with this, my beloved friend, in order to communicate with you through a medium that you understand and that you accept. For it is a great truth that I come often unto many, but often, because of what you have learned in your world, you have believed me to be but a figment of your imagination, and the voice that steals quietly through the space between your own thoughts you would think to be but an illusion. Yet I say I come often unto many. And yet, when I come forth to abide with this my beloved brother, to speak with you, I come not alone. For there is, in truth, a host of friends that come to create a vortex, a circumference, if you will, of energy. We have come even in this hour into this space, and we have set that tone. If you would well receive it, there are many friends, unseen by physical eyes, that are gently encircling those that have come forth to contribute, to support, to abide in the creation of this work. And what is this work but to create a medium of communication? Why is that important? Because always, in each and every moment of your experience, what in truth is occurring is that you, as a soul, as a divine spark of consciousness, are deliberately choosing to create mediums of communication. You do it with the raiment that you place upon your body. You do it with your gestures, the sound of your voice. You do it with the very culture and time frame in which you incarnate. You are constantly and only creating mediums through which you communicate. And is communication anything but the attempt to rest in communion with creation? That through you, what you are choosing to perceive and believe and accept as true will be radiated through your communication devices, which of course includes the body, that you might transfer your perception to another, that they might therefore know who you are and which voice you are committed to. I have said often that the body is a teaching and learning device, and all forms of communication affect the process of teaching and learning. When you arise in the morning, the first thought that makes a home in your mind you will act on. You may stretch the body, you may smile, you may frown, you might be filled with peace, or you might feel the weight of the world. These things come not because you have perceived them outside, but because you have allowed them inside the depth of your consciousness that remains pure and undefiled and radiant beyond all boundaries forever. And as that thought makes a home in your mind, you literally begin to transform the communication device called the body into that which carries, expresses, and reflects what has come to make a home within your mind. Remember, please, that the mind is not where the body is. It does not abide within the body, but the body does abide within the field of your mind. Communication is creation. These two are one and the same. Therefore, if you would create well, ask only, what am I committed to communicating? What will my creations express? What will my creations convey to others? For what I seek to convey reveals the truth of myself to the world. Therefore, indeed, beloved friends, as we begin this year to focus on, to refine, to deepen, to mature in what we have chosen to call the way of the heart, it is wise to begin at the beginning. And the beginning of this pathway is simply this: you are as God has created you to be. You are an infinite focus of consciousness. Your very sense of existence is nothing more than a feedback loop or feedback mechanism, so that you can witness the effects of the choices that you are making in the very deep, deep depth of your mind that rests right alongside the mind of God. Therefore, in each moment of your existence, which includes this bodily incarnation, you are literally allowing, through deliberate choice, though perhaps unconscious, to bring forth vibration of thought, vibration of creation, and to communicate to the world in an attempt to experience communion with all of life, with a friend, with a parent, with a child, with a beloved, with the clouds that pass through the sky, with the earth itself. Each gesture, each thought, the way that the body breathes, all these things are going on constantly, and they are communicating or revealing the effect of what you have allowed to make a home in your mind. Understand well, then, the way of the heart requires that you allow yourself to rest in the simplicity of this truth. I am pure spirit, undefiled and unaffected by anything or anyone. I am given full power to choose, and therefore to create my experience as I would have it to be. Not quite the I that is the egoic part of the mind, for that is just one of your creations that came along somewhere down the line, and it is a very small part of the mind. We are speaking of the I of you that is pure spirit, that knows it exists, even though it does not know the time of its own creation. You are pure spirit. Therefore, to know that I am only this, and in each moment, regardless of what I believe, I see, regardless of the feelings that arise within my awareness, I and I alone am wholly 100% responsible for them. No one has caused them. No great force in the universe has made this perception well up within my consciousness. I have selected it. Just as you would go to a grocery store and say, well, what will I have for dinner? And you own a perception. You lodge it in the mind, and that it expresses itself through the body, through the environment that you create around yourself, through the friends that you would call into your awareness. Every aspect of the life you live is the symbol of what you have chosen to experience, and therefore to convey through creation. The way of the heart begins with the acceptance of the simple truth that I am as God created me to be. Made in His image, I am a creator always. What then would you ask your creation to communicate? Why do you make the choices you are making? You all know perfectly well that sometimes you seem to be compelled, and the mind wants you to believe. Now we are speaking of the egoic part of the mind. The ego wants you to believe that you are compelled to certain actions, certain feelings, certain choices, certain perceptions, and certain statements by something that surely exists outside yourself. This is never true. In no circumstance is there anything of creation that has the power to dictate to you the choice you will make. Therefore, the pathway of awakening, the way of the heart, must begin with the decision to embrace the truth that is true always. I am a creator of all that I think and see and experience. I am free always. Nothing impinges upon me but the thoughts I have chosen to hold within. Nothing imprisons me but my own perception of imprisonment. Nothing limits me at any level or dimension of experience save that which I have chosen. The way of the heart, then, embraces all things, trusts all things, and eventually transcends all things. But why? Because it begins by assuming complete and total responsibility for what is being channeled through it. And so you see, it is not just this, my beloved brother, who serves as the channel. That is, in truth, all that you do, from the moment you arise until the moment you arise, for even during the sleep you are yet choosing that which flows through your consciousness. The goal that we seek has never changed. It is, in truth, a journey without distance. It is merely the return to where you are always, that you might begin anew to create deliberately, clearly, and with the perfect knowledge that if you are experiencing something, it is because you are the source of it and no other reason. The way of the heart, then, is not a way of gaining power. The way of the heart is not a way in which you will finally be able to make the world be what you want it to be. But rather, the way of the heart is that pathway in which you learn to transcend and dissolve from your consciousness every perception, every thought that is out of alignment with what is true. The thought of death is out of alignment. The thought of fear is out of alignment. The thought of guilt is out of alignment, and the thought of eternal life is in alignment. The thought of perfect fearlessness is in alignment. The thought of peace is in alignment. The realization of innocence is in alignment. The thought of joy and of forgiveness, these things are in alignment and reflect the truth that is true always. For you see, although you are given complete free will to create as you choose to, the soul begins to learn that which brings it to the highest joy, that which brings it the highest peace, that which brings it the highest bliss imaginable, is that which flows from the mind of God, through the mind of the channel, the soul, and expresses itself in the field of experience. It is for this reason that your Father's will is that you be happy, and your happiness is found in choosing to restore your perfect alignment with only the voice of God. The way of heart, then, is the pathway that begins with a commitment to healing and awakening, and is founded on the premise, the axiom, that we have given unto you, that you are perfectly free at all times, and everything that is experienced has been by your choice, and at no time has there been any other cause. It seems simple, doesn't it? Well, of course, okay, I'm creating my own experience. And yet, what soul has not known a resistance to this idea? If you bake a cake and it turns out well, you will say, oh, I did that. But if you bake a cake and it turns out very bad, it must have been the flour. It must have been the temperature of the oven. Surely there was something that caused this creation to not be what I truly desire. It takes great courage, great faith to look upon all your creations, your thoughts, your feelings, your manifestations with love, and with the innocence of a child. To plant a garden and have all things wither and die, and yet to smile and say, I planted this garden. I and I alone have done this. Well, I'll get a little hungry here, so I might as well go to the store. Why is this important? Because the soul, a long time ago, began to create the perception that it was something other than what it's created to be. And the voice for ego emerged within the garden of consciousness. And as the soul, as the deep mind that you have all known, and in fact are that deep mind, began to identify with a voice that was other than the voice for God. That voice has led you to believe that your creations determine your worthiness. Do you know that feeling? And therefore, if what you create is not up to, what is this word, snuff? Is not up to snuff, that it means you, in the core of your beingness, are some kind of a failure. But I say unto you, in reality, failure is not even remotely possible. And why? If you plant a garden and the seed does not turn into a beautiful flower, it withers and dies. That experience is a creation, and you have done it. And because all events in space and time, everything you experience, because these things are perfectly neutral, there is, in reality, never failure. The only failure occurs only within your own consciousness when you believe that it is not acceptable to receive and own and embrace your creation with love and with innocence. To look upon it, to experience, to recognize your perfect safety in doing so, from where you can decide whether to continue in the form of creation or whether to think differently, to approach things differently. And that is where the catch is that the part of the mind has begun to teach you a long, long time ago what to accept as acceptable creations and what not, what to take responsibility for and what to deny responsibility for. And that conflict creates the illusion of separation. And when taken to its extreme, one discovers what you call your hospital full of these in deep depression, paranoia, the feeling within the beingness, within the human mind of feeling alienated and alone. Helplessness, hopelessness, despair, anger, hatred, all of these are symptoms of a fundamental delusion that has occurred within the depth of the mind. It has occurred because there has been a long history of having cultivated the skill of listening to the wrong voice. And the wrong voice is the voice of ego. It has taught you to judge, to pick, to select what you'll be responsible for. The more you move into the consciousness, the harder it seems to ever hope for a chance of transcending the sense of separation and conflict and lack of peace. For how many of you have not known the feeling of resting your head upon the pillow at night, not being able to sleep because it's not just going the way you expected? The reason you cannot sleep is because you are in judgment of your creation. But it is possible to cultivate just the opposite, in which you learn to look with perfect innocence upon all things that arise in that field that is your experience. To look with innocence and what is called wonder at every feeling from the place of curiosity, as you would look upon the cloud that passes through the sky. Look at it and marvel at it, its shape, its color. Well, where did that come from? And to embrace it, knowing that it does not affect the purity of the sky through which the temporary floats by. And each of your creations exactly like that. It arises in the field of time and space. You experience it, and then it fades away. Every hurt that you have ever known is like a cloud that began to pass into the field of your awareness because you were perceiving things in a certain way. And if that hurt is still lodged within you, it is because you latched onto it. You followed the voice of the ego, which caused you to believe that you are identified with that feeling, with that perception. And because that's you, if you let go of it, what's going to happen? You might disappear, you might die. And the human mind then is that field within creation, within consciousness, that has learned to become so identified with perception and experiences and feelings that are not necessarily comfortable. It believes that if it lets go of them, it will die. And so, from our perspective, as we look upon your energy field, those of you who are still identified with this dimension, it looks as though you are gripping, causing to condense energy. And your knuckles are white, trying to hold on to limitation and guilt, to unworthiness and doubt. You would indeed seek innocence and peace. You would seek abundance and prosperity and joy. But often when you touch these things, it frightens you. And why? Because the truth of the kingdom requires openness, trust, expansiveness, spaciousness. It involves allowing, trusting, witnessing, letting things come and go, learning to cultivate a deep enjoyment of whatever arises, seeing that all things are just modifications of consciousness itself, and then letting them go when it's time for them to do so. And rest assured, there is no one, not a single soul, that has ever discovered something that was birthed in time that did not also end in time. And how much of your suffering comes because you are clinging to a lifeless past and insisting that you carry it with you still. And you are doing that because in the past you became identified with the clouds that were passing by, claim that is your own identity. And therefore, as you release it, it will mean that you must change, you must go on. And creation itself, that flows from the mind of God, is an ongoingness forever. You will never cease to be. You will go on forever and forever and forever and forever and forever. You will go on forever exactly as you are now. Or you can allow the mind of God to flow through you, carrying you to an ever greater expansiveness, deepening your awareness of the infinite loveliness of the power of the mind of God. This year, then, we do indeed embark on the way of the heart. And though many clues have been given, we will come this year to refine these clues, to create what you might think of as a system or a pathway upon which you can walk, to deliberately cultivate the quality of awareness and consciousness necessary to stabilize that awareness, so that you can bring it to each and every moment of your experience. Imagine then being able to experience whatever arises without losing the sense of spaciousness and innocence and ease that you now experience into fleeting moments. For instance, know you the experience when things are going well outside, around you, and you're singing a happy tune and life seems to be moving ahead. Imagine that same quality of trust and of faith and of certainty of purpose even when the buildings are crumbling around you and the bank account has gone dry. Being able to look at these events with the same sense of innocence and wonder with which you would look into the eyes of your beloved. For you see, such a quality of awareness is perfect mastery. Within it is discovered perfect peace and perfect freedom, perfect joy, and uninterrupted communion with all of creation. And if you would well receive it, that quality of feeling intimately one with all of creation is what you have been seeking as a soul since first the identification with the creation called ego began. For that creation, again, created conflict and separation. And everything you have ever attempted to do since has been an attempt to overcome separation, to gain back what you felt you had lost. It's just that ways you have sought to do it don't work. The eye of the needle that separates you in your consciousness from the world of conflict and fear and guilt and unworthiness, that world and the world of the truth of the kingdom lie side by side within your own mind. And the eye of the needle that one must pass through is the recultivation of the innocence of a child. And it is for this reason that I often taught become again as a little child to enter the kingdom. And the cultivation of the way of the heart is that pathway whereby you deliberately, consciously choose to become again as an innocent child, as you were in the beginning, before you ever created, and then incarnated into this dimension of experience that seems to be so permeated by a sense of conflict and separation. So it begins there. And I would ask you now to begin to put this into practice. So wherever you happen to be, whether you are viewing this with your eyes or what you would call your video, or whether you are listening to the words, stop for just a moment and truly become aware of where you are. And where are you? Are you not having the experience of seemingly being within a body? Don't you seem to be abiding in a room somewhere? Aren't you within an environment in which there are certain weather patterns going on around you? Perhaps there are other sounds coming into your ears. Can you truly be aware of where you are now? Can you feel the weight of the body as you stand upon your feet or sit within your chairs? Do you notice the tension in your neck? Do you notice the racing of the mind if that's going on? Can you begin to bring an awareness to exactly what is from a place of innocence and non-judgment? You have a saying in your world. It is what it is. And that is the beginning of wisdom. You will, of course, discover that what is what you have chosen to make of it. Be therefore where you are now, and deliberately decide to accept wholly that what you are experiencing in this very moment has no cause whatsoever except your choice to experience it. Rest assured, whatever the mind may try to say, if you do not wholly want to be right where you are, you wouldn't be there. And if you are in the body, in the field of time and space, rest assured, you desired it, you chose it, and it's here. Begin here. There's no need to judge it, no need to ask it to be different. Just truly be aware of what is. If you are feeling the body sitting in a chair, can you allow the thought to come into the mind? I have literally created this experience. Something within me is so grand, so powerful, so vast, so beyond anything that scientists have ever come up with, that I have literally crystallized in the field of experience awareness of being a body in space and time. It has come forth from the field of my consciousness, the gift to me of God, who asks only that I learn to create as God creates. I said many times that the Father looks upon you and says, "This is my only creation, and it is very good." For the Father marvels at what you are, knowing perfectly well that what you are emerged from out of her holy mind. Likewise, look upon your creation and marvel. How is it that you could abide in this time frame on this planet? How could it be that you can place yourself behind the wheel of an automobile and actually get from point A to point B? That is a mystery and a marvel, and no one knows how it's done, and yet it is done. The reason it's done is that all power has been given unto you, and what you decree is. For a man or a woman shall decree a thing, and it shall be so. You have decreed this moment. Own it. For by owning it right now, you can begin to sense the incredible and awesome power that flows through you in each moment. It is the power to create. So begin there, by choosing each day now to cultivate the practice in this manner. Set the intention so that in each hour of your day, For 3 to 5 minutes, you practice bringing this quality of awareness to exactly whatever you are experiencing. When the thought arises to do the practice, you see, where does that thought come from? Imagine you're going through the day and you're hustling and bustling about. You've gone to your office or your work, you've talked to friends, you've bought groceries, you've done all these things, and suddenly the thought appears. Oh, focus on being aware that I am literally the creator of what I experience. Do you think it just happened by accident? No. The thought is penetrating what you call your conscious awareness from the depth of your mind that rests next to the mind of God. Therefore, the power to generate the very thought is an effect of God's will entering into your field of being, and penetrates the veil of distraction and shining forth as the thought, oh, that's right, 5 minutes every hour. Can you feel that awesomeness of that? For you are linked to the mind of God, and God knows how to bring you back to complete freedom and perfect peace and mastery of this entire realm. Therefore, those who truly love God, those that would truly awaken, will feel something compelling them to master this simple practice for 5 minutes of each hour. They will learn to delight, and they will look forward to it. And pretty soon, these 5 minutes will stretch into 6, and then 10, and 15, 50, until finally there is established in their awareness, like a background, if you will, the awareness that everything that arises, they have decreed it, and so it is so. 5 minutes every hour is not much to ask. For 5 minutes every hour be you, therefore, as you are created to be, a creator, decreeing that which brings forth experience, and never again allow yourself to tell yourself, well, I'm really here because I have to be. I'm really just doing this because, well, it's what I have to do. Take the words ought and should and must and have to, write them on a piece of paper. Look at them and then light a match and light the corner of the paper, and let the paper burn and dissolve to dust. For it is a symbol of allowing the energy you've given those words to become again as the dust or the ash of the ground. Clear from your consciousness all identification with such words, for all of them are denials of reality. Many times I've shared with you that you need do nothing. Listen to those words and take them into yourself, as though they are your own voice, because they are. I need do nothing. We don't have to survive. Whoever told you you had to? You don't have to make everybody happy. Whoever told you you had to? Whoever told you that you could make anybody happy? You don't have to abide as a body in space and time. Whoever told you that you had to? You don't have to pay your bills. How irresponsible. Who told you that? You literally need do nothing. It's quite different than wanting or choosing to do something. You don't need to love your parents. You don't need to honor your father and your mother. You don't need to worship me or love me. You don't need to love yourself. You literally need do nothing. For need is an expression of the perception that there is something you lack. And because you are one with God, there is never a moment when you lack anything at all. I need do nothing. Can you allow the thought to emerge in the mind when you arise in the morning? I don't have to get out of this bed. I don't have to go to an office. I don't need to fulfill that order. I don't need to say good morning to my mate. I literally need do nothing. For how can there be the power of freedom to choose and to create when you are being governed by the belief of the world that you must be a certain way, that you need to be acceptable to others, that you need to conform and fit in, that you need to dress the way others dress, that you need to be committed to surviving an extra day upon this plane, there can be no freedom where there is need. So those are the first two axioms of the way of the heart, to be built on, to be remembered, to be cultivated daily. I am created as my Father created me to be. I am free, and nothing sources my experience but me in each moment. Nothing has an effect upon me whatsoever, save that which I choose to allow to affect me. I need do nothing. Again, we would ask you at least twice in each of your days, and in the beginning we would suggest here that in the morning and in the evening, as you are arising and you are retiring, to cultivate for 5 minutes the repetition of that thought, so that you feel it in your bones. I need do nothing. It will come as quite a shock to your consciousness, and the mind will say, but I have all these things I have to. Oh, well, what about this and what about that? And oh my goodness. Well, will the world stop spinning if I stop needing? That's up to the world, not up to you. I need do nothing. The power of these first two axioms will be what everything that follows is built on. And yet everything that follows is merely a way of watering these two axioms and making them the anchor of your awareness. For when the anchor is firmly in place, you will literally create whatever you so desire. From perfect freedom, from perfect deliberateness, you will even transcend miracle-mindedness. For miracles you see as you begin to open to miracle-mindedness, you marvel. Wow, that was a miracle, how great. Miracle-mindedness is still a stage of perception just short of mastery. For mastery comes when you know that you are literally and deliberately creating. And there is nothing miraculous about it. You will decree a thing, and it shall be so. That is to create as God creates. For while he marvels at you, he knows perfectly well that your creation was not a miracle. It was very deliberate, born from the pure radiance of love. God does not sit on his throne and say, I wonder if I'm worthy to create my children. I wonder if I'm worthy to express myself through divine spark of consciousness that they are. Never does it enter into the holy mind of God, I wonder if it's okay if I create a solar system. God receives a thought, or a thought emanates within his holy mind. He decrees it, and it is so. And he looks upon all things and says, it is very good. The third and last exercise that we would give you in this hour is this. Choose something that you do every day, that you are convinced is so utterly ordinary that it certainly doesn't hold any power or any spiritual meaning whatsoever. It could be something as simple as having a glass of water, brushing your teeth, yawning. Pick something that you know you do every day and decide to make that the focus of your worship, so that when you do it, you stop and you go, 'tis very good. Even at something as simple as raising your head from the pillow, become aware of it. Own it as self-created. And then say within yourself as you contemplate that action, it is very good. I have done this, and it is good. I have created. And again, those that are truly committed will find that they begin to enjoy the process, and they begin to apply it more and more to other events in their lives. They begin to reawaken the childlike joy of building a castle in the sandbox. For in truth, that's all you're doing here. Consciousness is your sandbox, and you are all creating castles. You've simply forgotten to enjoy them. And when you want to get rid of them, you now lament. Oh, but if I give this up and change my mind and move on, what will happen to my creations? What will others think of me if I act like a child and just take my little plastic shovel and knock the castle down and go in and have a sandwich for lunch? What will people think of me? Will I fit in? Will I be accepted? Will I be judged? Will I be persecuted? Who cares? For the opinions of others mean nothing unless, of course, you want them to mean something. And now we come to what concludes this hour, what blocks you in your mind. For even as you are listening to this, many of you are recognizing a resistance. That resistance is the energy of fear. What will happen if I follow this path? That part of your mind called the ego will rise up to tell you that if you listen to the crazy one, that some have called the savior of the world, it will take you to a path of destruction. That's because the voice of ego knows that it will be destroyed if this path is followed. You cannot be destroyed, the reality of who you are. That resistance then is fear, and fear is one of the energies out of alignment with the truth of the kingdom. Therefore, indeed, fear not, but continue in faith. For I say unto you, what you will discover at the end of this pathway is the perfect freedom, the perfect power, the perfect spaciousness, the perfect joy, the perfect peace of living literally in the kingdom of heaven. So the choice is yours. And for those of you that will feel this resistance come up so strongly, for those of you that will yet call unto me in your dreams and your prayers, help me through this. I say unto you that you walk not alone, for I cannot be further from you than the width of a thought, and yes, you are the creator of that thought. I would share with you that I too embarked upon just such a path, and each what you might call axiom that I will share with you and refine for you. Many of the exercises that we would give unto you in this coming year are specifically exercises in truth that were given unto me from the time I was initiated by certain Essene teachers in the way of the heart. And when my teacher said, "It is time for you to go spend 40 days and 40 nights in the desert," do you not believe that resistance came up within me too? That I too had to notice that I was creating a thought of fear and separating myself from the great protection and love of God? That I had to physically move the body into the wilderness to move through my own rings of fear, to discover what was on the other side? The pathway then that I have walked is the pathway that you are walking. And if our pathway is the same, then we walk together to God and away from illusion and pain and weakness and unworthiness and guilt and death. So engage in your exercise with great zeal, with great joy, and above all, with great outrageous playfulness. Learn to look with innocence upon all that arises. And if you put these little exercises to work, much indeed will arise. Practice then well, and practice with joy. Know that you are loved, loving, and lovable, and that in truth the only thing that's occurring is that an old dream is being released, that a new dream might replace it, the dream of worthiness and of peace and of wakefulness and of union with all of creation. And during this coming year again, there will be others who will have specific guidance to give you through this, my beloved brother. For again I say, I come not alone in this specific work, but I come with many who support your healing and your awakening. Therefore, indeed, be at peace this day, beloved friends. Abide lovingly with your creations. Amen.